to Talking Lines with Kauntent and MBY the Nerd. Today we will be discussing Africans versus African Americans. All right. NBY, how's it going, man?
Man, it's going good, Content. How you doing, man?
Good, good. Now, both of us wanted to bring up this topic, right? And it seems like
Yeah,
I definitely noticed. I see. It really does seem like Africans, and I'm not saying all Africans. I'm just saying as far as a percentage wise, I
right,
wouldn't know what that percentage would be, but it would be larger than 50.
right.
That's for sure. You know, they seem to look at us over here, and they don't really. It just seems like they don't respect, or they just feel like they are better
Hmm.
than African American. They don't look at us in the same light. Now, I don't know if that's because of the imagery that they see over there. I
Right.
don't know if all they see from us is us just dancing and just,
Right.
the type of music that we make.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if it's, like the way we rock our clothes. I don't know if it's just
Yeah.
the imagery that they see and they just be like, oh man, look at them over there. Like, what do
Right.
you think?
Well, it's systematic. Really, to tell you the truth, and this is a great subject, and we have to thank Godfrey and Freeway Rick Ross and Vlad TV for really kind of putting this in our spirit. But I think it's something systematic with the whole slavery thing, as far as how Africans were collected by the United States of America, and those Africans end up being dropped off throughout the Caribbeans, as well as majority of it in the Spanish areas, and ultimately the United States of America. And out of all of those groups, the ones that came to the U.S. end up becoming the most successful. And I think they believe that they we became the most successful by basically becoming subservient to the white people, you know, and that is like, it's like if you look at somebody in a situation where your people are being treated bad, and then you see, a person that looks like you conforming to those people and actually agreeing with those people and celebrating those people, it would turn you the wrong way, especially when they're still being treated um without the utmost respect that they feel like they should deserve. So to this day, although Africa is flourishing in a lot of different places in the continent, there's still Americans treating them, and I'm talking about Caucasian Americans, that are treating them as if they were second class people. And then to see black people who are unaware of this or don't really care because they're just trying to survive, here, it's like a dynamic between the two. Like, both of us really don't know what the other one is doing. We don't know how over here black Americans don't know how successful, traditional Africans or native Africans are doing, as far as their resources, as far as their education, as far as how far they've come. They just think that they're, over there with flies flying around their face, and they're getting aid from Americans, and Oprah, building schools and stuff like that. They feel like that's how all of Africa is. And then you see the Africans, and they see us as, you know, all we care about is music, entertainment, sports. We're drug dealers. When it comes to all of the movies, the way we're portrayed, they think that's how we are. They think we're thugs, gangster, we're, second class, we're laughed at, we're just jokes. We're just here as the puppet for the white people. And, so a lot of that is just kind of misunderstanding. So, if you only have a representation of a person, you really don't know that person. When you first come in contact with them, it's hard not to react towards that representation and not the actual person. So I think that's what happens to a lot of Africans that go through that. And I haven't really been on that side of the fence as far as dealing with too many, but I have run into some that feel like they're better. You know what I'm saying? Than we are, just because of their status, because a lot of them are, if you think about it, when you think about, native Africans that come over to America in the modern times, they're coming over to get doctorates, they're coming over to get medical degrees, they're coming over to become lawyers, things like that. And so they feel like they're better than the traditional African American who has to, still lives in Section 8 or the ghetto and trying to make it out via sports or entertainment, or some people feel like drugs is the way out. And so they feel like we're like the bottom of society. And and that's just, that's just not true. So I think there has to be a paradigm shift between both cultures to get to know one another better, so we can really understand one another. Because I feel that there's a lot of African Americans who have utmost respect to the African culture. I know my family really does. My sister, she's really, Afrocentric in her ways and views, and she tries to make sure that our African heritage never diminishes. And I'm very astute to that as well when I have my children, to make sure they understand who they understand their American culture, but they also understand that this is not our origin. And so I really try to instill that in my children as well. So, man, it's hard, but yeah, that happens.
Yeah, it does. It does. Now, like you say, like us as African Americans, we respect African. We respect Africa. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that is somewhere that we all dream of going.
Right.
Now, some of us just don't have the finances to get over there, but we all dream of going over there to Africa. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because that is our true home. You
Yeah.
know, it is our true home. Like really, like everybody that is growing up now, like from our generation to the next generation, we're all descendants of Africa. So it's best to get to know our homeland. So we do, like, we don't disrespect or we don't feel like we're better than
Right.
Africans. You know, we don't. Now, the only thing that I've seen, like, comedians make fun of African accents,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But other than a comedian,
Yeah.
you know, telling jokes and stuff, yeah, we take it serious, man. Like, look at Black Panther, man. We came out. You
Yeah.
know, everybody came out for Black Panther.
Right.
My son loves Black Panther. He loves the movie. He loves the character,
Right.
and you know that's his favorite thing. You know, now I didn't even push that on him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's just something that he just gravitated to himself. You know, there's a stigma. Like he loves like that look. He loves like what he saw. You know, he loved the fighting style. He loved like what they were wearing. He loved how they talked. He just loved like the whole culture of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, my son being, 9 years old, like he really that really pulled him into that world. Like he loves that. So me seeing that just makes me want to be like, dang, I need to get over there. You know what I mean? I need to get us over there.
Yeah.
One day, so
Right.
we can really like have a better understanding.
Yeah, because Black Panther, I applaud Ryan and then the director of the film and everybody that participated, because it was, I say, the first positive representation of an African nation, although be fictional. It still was the first time we really seen something of that scale and grandeur portrayed in America, man. And this is why Black people came out in droves, and they were Afrocentric again. We've seen this before with movements. I mean, we go back to the times of Marcus Garvey and the Back to Africa movement. We want that. We want to feel the connection between the motherland and ourselves. This is why Kwanzaa was created, to celebrate that and instill those African roots in us, and not from the standpoint of being bush people, but knowing that you can live in Africa, be an African, and be a modernized civil person. You know, they wear suits just like we wear suits. They have technology just like we have technology. Um, Not every part of Africa is desolate. You know, just like not every part of
because it's so big.
yeah,
Because
just
it's so big.
because it's so big, and not every part of America is modernized. You know, so
Correct.
we got to stop with the double standard. I mean, you see it. You drive around the country, content, so you see
Ain't
desolate.
nothing. Ain't nothing in Montana. Ain't nothing in South Dakota, North Dakota. Like it
You
ain't
see what I'm
nothing out
saying?
there.
There's nothing there. So yeah, we could show you New York all day and say this is what America is, but what if they continue to show us Kenya? Or what if they showed us, big cities like Nigeria? Nigeria is one of the
Hmm.
richest countries in Africa. You know, so what if they showed you Alexandria? All the time. What if they showed you Cairo, Egypt, all the time? What if they showed you all of these places? What if they went into South Africa, which is predominantly European and Dutch, and they showed you the cities that are in South Africa all the time? Then you would have a different understanding of it. Like I remember when I first went to Jamaica, right? And I was blown away. I literally was in the hotel and I told my wife, I might have to steal this phone book because I had never seen anything like every page I flipped through was a black person represented, black plumber, black wallsmith, black people advertising phone cup, black. It was just everybody. You know what I'm saying? And then you turn on the television, the newscasters are black. And the actors on the commercials are black. It was amazing, man. And it was like, wow, what if I grew up like this? And I saw every representation in black, not just, the drug dealer or the rapper or whatever, but every culture, everything that we do in our culture from, the janitor all the way up to the president, being black. And then seeing females in prominent position that were black. It would make you think a lot differently as an African American, and we know that's true because we're constantly trying to push those positive messages into our kids. But 9 times out of 10, it's some entertainer or athlete. I have nothing against that, but not everybody can do that. Not everybody has a natural ability to do that. Anybody can go and get a degree as a AC repair tech. Yet when I drive down the street, who do I see with the hard hat on and the jacket on? It ain't no black man, it's a white guy. Or who do I
Hmm.
see advertised as the police officer? A white guy. It was funny, we have here in Orlando, we have a predominantly black area that has a mall and it's been here for years. It's very synonymous with the community in Pine Hills called the Magic Mall, named after the Orlando Magic. And that mall is predominantly black owned. As far as all of the businesses in there are pretty much black run, or either some kind of ethnic group, or that's not traditionally European, such as Asians or Hispanic or what have you. But I saw an advertisement. There was a big billboard, and it was like, "Come to the new Magic Mall and shop." Right? And guess what kind of family was on the billboard, Steve? I mean,
What kind of family?
it was a white family, and I'm like, "Are you serious?" But this is what we get in America. A lot of stuff gets whitewashed, as they call it. It's a harsh statement, but content. You see it all the time, man. Like, you know, it should be some representation, or you'll see reverse representation. Stuff that they
Yes.
want people, like stereotypical stuff they want people to believe is just black, like Popeye's chicken. You know,
Right.
the owner of
Right.
the company is a Caucasian man, but yet the representation is some, very southernized black woman, and it's like, come on now, really?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and that gives Africans the wrong perspective because they don't know what they're coming into. And it's not just Africa. We have Haitians, we have Jamaicans who come from Britain or they come from the Jamaican islands to America, and they have these preconceived notions about how American blacks are, and so there's a little tension between there, and everybody just prejudges everyone, and that's just caused a lot of conflict, and so it hurts because we should be coming together and really building communities within America that reunite our ancestors with one another. Because at the end of the day, we all come from the same ancestors, so
Yeah,
we should be working together.
that's true. That's true. We should, man. It's just we just need better understanding, because like I say, I really do think that the imagery that they see over here is just based on entertainment and nothing else.
Right.
So anything that represents African Americans is based in entertainment. Like you're not successful over here unless you're in entertainment.
Yeah.
Because that seems like the only way that you're making some kind of revenue, or it shows people that you have money. So if you're not into sports, music, TV, and films, it's like where all the people that just write books, where all the people that have their own construction company,
Right.
where are all the people that are making money and that are wealthy, but they're doing things outside of just entertainment.
Yeah.
These people are not showcased, and where all the popular, African American lawyers, and the people that study,
Right.
all kind of law and physics and doctors.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You think about all that African Americans did to help, invent things that we still use today.
Man,
in this country.
We built this country,
Stoplights.
man.
Yeah.
Everything, yeah.
Absolutely, and came up, invented a lot of things. So, I don't think Africans see that part.
Right.
Because we don't even see that part over here.
No,
So,
it's not pushed. We're constantly, and I don't know if it's because of sponsorship, because like every local low income area has these sponsored places where kids can go, and so obviously they're going to lean towards their sponsorship when it comes to trying to encourage the children. So obviously the Orlando Magic sponsored Boys and Girls Club is going to really lean towards athletes and basketball players as positive influences, or the Jacksonville Jaguar sponsored playground or kids club is going to lean towards football players being the positive influences. So
yeah.
it's sad that we don't see more medical. They have the money, but we don't see a lot of these gigantic medical centers. They'll sponsor sports events and they'll sponsor concerts and all that, but they won't sponsor like infrastructure for under income or underdeveloped neighborhoods that need that help, so that then they can bring in the latest neurologists to say, look at this neurologist, and bringing these guys and say, hey, look at these guys, they're doing positive things in their life, and they came from similar upbringing. So we don't get a chance to see those things. We don't even see regular stuff like how many times you go to a Best Buy to get your computer fixed and it's a black guy. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, so if kids don't see representation of themselves, they don't feel like they belong there. They feel like they belong wherever they're represented at. And it's sad. Like even in my field where I work in, film, and I work film, television, I work audio visual. There's a lot of people in front of the camera, but behind the camera, I'm a behind the scenes guy. I do the technical grunt work. You don't see a lot of African Americans in those fields, and that's why people like Tyler Perry are so important, because he gave people opportunities to show how skilled they were. You don't see a lot of A1, audio technicians or V1 camera and video technicians that are African American. So if a kid's developing those skills when he's growing up and he really wants to pursue that career, he may get discouraged because when he goes to school, it's like he's 1 out of 10, when it comes to his representation. So it's
Hmm.
tough. I know for me, that's how it was. Like I had to become I'm a very personable guy, so it doesn't matter. I grew up, around almost every ethnic group you could think, just growing up within Section 8 and stuff like that. You get a lot of different ethnic groups that were poor. So I grew up around Hindus, I grew up around Indians, and I grew up around, obviously white people and blacks and Africans and, all sorts of people, just Jamaicans, all whatever cultural, you could think of. I grew up with these people. So I always was personable. And so it wasn't hard for me to acclimate myself. But then when I would actually consciously look around, as I was going to school, I would say to myself sometimes, like, man, why am I the why am I the only black guy here? And if one of my classmates who was black also didn't show up, it was just me. And it's like, man, that's really discouraging, and then I started going to work and I'm showing up and it's like it's just I'm the only black guy. So it's like it's real discouraging, when people already have a preconceived notion of who you are just based on what they've seen in representation or what their parents taught them or whatever racial, connection they have to you. Um, they may have had a bad incident with a black person growing up and they just threw that on everybody. And so you got to
Hmm.
deal with that weight. So it's tough, man. And then to have your own somebody that looks like you also throwing their nose up at you, it's just it gets real difficult, man. And it's
It is.
you see the frustration come out in some people who can't handle it, and they wonder why there's so much violence in these neighborhoods, and it's because they don't know who else to take it out on, so they take it out on each other.
Yeah, they do. They do. That's true. And I always wonder how Africans feel about, you know, like the Caribbean or anybody from the island, that's African descent. You know what I mean? So like, do they look at them the same way as they look at us? Because I know from walking and just, let's say I'm walking into a store, if I'm about to pass, somebody that's my own race, if I make eye contact with them, I'm gonna say what's up. I'm gonna say hello. I'm gonna say, how's it going? You know. Now, usually, yeah, I do get a response back on a normal basic, but I notice like if it's somebody that looks like they're just from Africa or from that part of the continent, then I notice like if I make eye contact with them and I say how's it going, they'll look right at me and just keep walking. So they just totally ignore me. And it's happened more than once, more than twice
Wow.
to me where I've experienced that.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh, okay. Now, I don't know if they could have been from, they could have been just visiting, you know, and yeah, but it's weird when that happens. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever noticed that?
Well, yeah, I would say not if it's like, okay, so if we're in a situation where it's a predominantly that, ethnic group, you know what I'm saying, as far as like that culture, um and then I'm just like the minority black American, then yeah, I notice the tension. Like if I go to a Caribbean market and it's a whole bunch of Caribbean people in there and I'm just the only black American in there, I could feel like they're annoyed with me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, yeah, I'm invading
Yeah.
their space. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure I haven't done that specifically with African place because I haven't really went to any, like fully African, um, you know, events or places or whatever. I know they have them, but I just haven't been to any. But I've heard that they do that, man. So it's like I don't know what it is about that, but it's funny. My kids, they attend a multicultural, predominantly black daycare, and so they have Jamaicans in there, they have Haitians, they have Africans, like from Africa and stuff like that, different parts of Africa. And so, and then you have some black Americans that work in there and they all seem to get along. So I think it's just really the individual, man. It's like the individual thought process. And I love my kids
Hmm.
being in that because they're exposed that just because we all look alike, that we're not all alike. We're different.
Right, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're different in different ways. So my son and my daughter, they've grown up with, understanding, like, they sometimes I can't even understand some of the ladies the way they talk with their strong accents, but my kids understand them clearly. You know what I'm saying? Like when the Jamaican lady that watches my children, she's speaking in like the broken English, my kids understand it perfectly. And sometimes I'm like, huh, what did she say?
That's my wife right there. That's my wife, man. Like she'll be like, I don't understand what this person said because their accent is so strong, but I can hear it though. I can hear it through the accent.
Yeah, because you've
You
been,
know.
you probably been around it more than she has. So,
Hmm.
that's just how it is, man. But I think like, on a positive side, I think we're starting to see more as far as it's funny, but the Trump thing really has brought the bickering to a minimal. Like at this point, people bickering about, something so small as culture. The bigger thing is us as a whole, as a black person, as a person of with dark skin. Um, the way we're being treated in this country, even though we've done so much, I think that's starting to become more the primary issue, and people are joining together. And I think Obama being president for the 8 years he did really made a difference amongst black people as far as the way we look at one another. So, we starting to see a positive and change within the community with that, and you see more and more different ethnic groups starting to come together, and that's good. That's a good thing, man. So, it's funny because even though we see it in standard society, I go to church and stuff like that, and I'm around a lot of church people. The religious section is still like completely segregated. Like I don't know what it's gonna take to break through that cycle, but Africans be with Africans, Haitians be with Haitians, Dominicans be with Dominicans, Puerto Ricans be with Puerto. And the religious is so segregated. It's ridiculous. White people they love white churches. It's crazy. So I don't understand. And as long as we have that, there's gonna be that tension that's still there. So, as much as we make progress um, in the community front, if the religious bodies don't come together and say, hey, we need to intermingle, I'm not saying you gotta leave your churches or what have you, but they need to come together and do community things together and let people know that hey, we're trying to improve these communities together and understanding about one another. So
That's true. Yeah, man. Now, over there in Africa, right? Now, are you familiar with Trevor Noah?
no, what's that?
Trevor Noah is a comedian. He
Oh,
hosts
you said, oh, you
the
said,
Daily Show.
oh, Trevor Noah. Yeah, yeah. He's coming to Orlando here soon.
Yeah, yeah, I heard about that. And so he's from, Africa, and he was talking about the apartheid, right? Because he
Right.
grew up where that was happening. You know. Now, I'm wondering if they still have that. They must not have that no more because have you been paying attention to what China is doing?
Yeah, man. I saw.
China,
Yeah, I
go
saw
ahead.
what they're doing, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, so for those that don't know what China is doing, and I had heard about this, but then like I saw it come up again when I was watching this Vlad TV interview, and they mentioned that over there in China, they've been giving, loans, and they've been building property over in Africa more and more. And what they've been doing over there in China is they've been advertising, you know, throughout television
Right.
and having shows dedicated to Africa and showing the good, the positive things of
Yeah.
Africa, all positive stuff. And it was basically like letting their audience and letting their citizens know it's okay to travel to Africa because they're building more. They're starting to build more over there, and they're starting to offer more jobs over there
Mm.
in Africa. So China is actually starting to slowly move over more of its infrastructure over to Africa and continue to build off the land there and to own more properties so that their citizens can go over there and either vacation or get jobs and work over there and be accepted
Hmm.
and make it feel like it's okay. So, I was just wondering because, I guess the way China works is they can't have more than a certain amount of number of kids, right? So everything is real tight over there with their citizens.
Hmm.
So if you're able to go to Africa, then you're able to start, a family over there as much as you want, do whatever you need to do. So yeah, man, I just wanted to know what was your thoughts on that.
I think it's a good thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like Africa's a big continent. Like it's huge. So I'm sure there's a lot of space that's available for that kind of development. I mean, U.S. Had done it years ago. So we have U.S. territories over there. So it's like, why not? As long as they're doing it fairly. I know the predatory practice of lending that they're using to get the. I don't really agree with that. Um, that's something that I would have to explore and see how they're really doing that. But as far as them wanting to go and build territories within Africa, I think that's fine. I mean, if it's legal and the they do it the right way, um, immigration to different places is cool, and they need it. They're really like you were said, man. They're limited to the amount of children they can have just because of overpopulation. Um, you know, they're having because of the limitation, they're having issues with crime and different things that are going on in their country that they don't like that comes from overpopulation. So if they can move some of those people over to Africa to alleviate that stress and possibly take control over their country again, um, then why not? I mean, I met a guy who I was working with, and he did a stint over in China. I think he said Shanghai, and he says the air quality is some of the worst that he's ever seen, in his life because of the overpopulation. So, yeah, man, for their health sake, it's something that needs to be done, and you see that many of them have migrated to the United States, and they build territories just like you're talking about for Africa. They do it here, so I understand what it is, and it adds to the communities that are there. They don't really take away. They add value. So, a lot of people here get mad because they say, oh, they're taking the money away from the Americans. It's like, well, they're just doing things that Americans could have done that chose not to. And, so I don't see it that way. Yeah, there's different things that they get for coming here, but that's just how immigration works. So being born here doesn't give you the pathway that coming here as an immigrant does. So that's just unfair, but it is what it is. So, hopefully they take advantage of it and they do it right. And, they be successful for both Africa and the Chinese as they try to alleviate some of the stress they're feeling with overpopulation, man. So, I know some Africans are not happy about it, of course, because they took these loans out and they couldn't pay and they lost their land. But there's consequences to every action. So hopefully, if it was done justly, it's okay. If it wasn't, that they legally they're able to take care of that situation. But we'll continue to see and watch it develop, man. But it's to me the sad part is that why, as Black Americans, why haven't we been able to do this? You know, why haven't we been able to find a way to get back? People that actually want to go back, get back and use all of the knowledge and understanding that we got here to build infrastructure in Africa for other citizens who want to come over and be a part of that culture to do so. It's always one or two people that go and they build infrastructure, but it can't sustain mass population. So you know I just want to see that happen. You know.
Yeah, Akon is doing that. He's a good representation over there.
Yeah, he's trying the
Akon is
best.
over there working.
Yeah, he's trying the best he can, but he's just one guy. You know what I'm saying? So we
Yeah,
need more Oprah's doing that to smaller extent, but she is trying. So um, we'll see, man. But yeah,
definitely.
that was good, man. That was a good talk there, bro. Like hopefully things can clear up and people get more understanding. And I think we just need to sit down and conversate with one another more. Just throw away prejudgment and let's just become one another's uh you know friends. We just gotta become friends and understand that we're all in the same boat. If you're in America, you're in the same boat. I don't care what culture you are. If you're black, if you have darker skin, you're in the same boat.
That's right. That's right. So learn from each other, and let's stick together. Let's be polite. You know what I'm saying? Let's enjoy each other's company, and let's get together and make a way for a better future. You know. So that was our episode for today. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. And we will be back next week on Talking Lines with Kauntent and MBY the Nerd. Y'all take it easy. Peace.
Peace. Peace.